It's Will Sean Podcast. The internet cried out for two more blowhards, and they courageously answered that call. Armed with the weapon of wit, each week they're joined by guests to discuss movies, television, pop culture, and anything else that's pissing them off. Take it away, boys.
I'm Will Link.
And I'm Sean David.
And this is Will Sean Podcast.
From the back room of a family pizzeria. How you doing, Will?
So, I'm really worried I'm going to get sick.
Why?
Because everybody in my office is sick.
But what have you done to compromise your immune system?
Nothing. I've been drinking a lot of Emergen-C to do the opposite.
You know that's bullshit, right?
Emergen-C?
Yeah, just eat an orange. It's the same shit.
Well, then it's not bullshit.
Well, eat an orange.
It's easier to just drink a
Fine.
drink.
Okay.
Then I gotta chew.
So you've been drinking sugar juice?
I'm gonna say this about my office. And it's weird because I've never worked in office life until the last few months.
Okay.
I've never been in an environment where people sneeze more than this office.
And you used to work in like a little dungeon.
Yeah, well, we got sick constantly, but nobody was sneezing. We were all just slowly choking to death.
Okay.
Everyone's sneezing. And I feel like I know everyone in the office's sneeze now. Their sneeze pattern. Like, I know how many sneezes to wait. It's kind of fascinating.
So what are you doing to insulate yourself from, the monkeypox?
There's nothing I can do.
Well, you don't have like some sort of. You're already doing the Emergen-C, so you might as well do the Purell.
Yeah,
really get on board with the disinfectant industrial complex.
I should wear a mask.
You get one of those Chinese, masks.
If it's good enough for a billion Chinese, it's good enough for me.
Good. Show up to work with masks tomorrow.
So what's going on in the World of Will Sean Podcast?
Want to continue to thank everyone. Please make sure you're subscribed to the show if you are not. Do that now. Leave us a star rating and a comment. And I'd like to announce that we are now available on YouTube, as if you didn't have enough ways to consume this.
Wait a second, what is this? I don't even know this.
It's a new thing. You just click on the button and it'll just show our dumb little logo and you can listen to us on YouTube. So it's another way for you to consume our podcast.
Look at that. That's great. I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, so, no more excuses, people. Once you check the latest honest trailers, go over to the Will Sean Podcast YouTube channel. Watch us there. Well, not much. Just listen.
Maybe we should act out the episodes.
That's more work for me.
And who's our sponsor this week?
FNN, the fake news network for when you need the whole truth, the all truth, the sometimes truth, and the true truth.
There's, who needs the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
I can't. I can't handle that truth. On the show today, La La Land. I've seen it.
Fuck you.
Everyone else hasn't.
I'm going to spoil it.
I'm not going to ruin it. But it got me thinking movie musicals. This should be a big hit, I'm assuming. So I thought we should go down a little musical route. We will discuss. There's a lot of pop culture lately that I've been feeling left out of. Me, Will Link. I never feel left out of everything.
Anything.
We will discuss. And Star Wars is back. And with it also returns the nightmare that is buying Star Wars tickets. I've got some things to say about it. But first, very excited to have with us from the website Drunk Monkeys, Matt Guerruckey.
Yeah, that'll work.
I said it.
Thanks.
I said it right.
You got it.
Yes.
You got it. Very good. Thanks for having me, guys.
I fuck up everyone's name on this show, so I'm glad that I only.
Well, I have a very fuck upable name.
Yeah,
so.
far from unfuckable.
Yeah.
It's basically like if you took the French word for war and slapped it on the English word for key.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. So there you go.
I am the key to all battles.
Okay.
Now you know.
So, Matt, before we get into Drunk Monkeys and your film podcast and all of this stuff, I always like to get the guest's origin story.
Okay.
So, where are you from originally?
Well, I was actually born in L.A., but I grew up most of the time in a really small town in Missouri called Hopkins.
Hopkins?
Yeah, it's right on the Iowa border in northwest Missouri.
Is it by Moline?
No, where's
the Quad Cities? Oh, that's the Illinois
right?
border.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but everyone does that too, right? Everyone's like, if I say Iowa, they're like Indiana or Illinois. You know, it's like, very difficult. And Missouri, they just don't know. They have no clue whatsoever.
So technically, Missouri.
No, that is down in the Ozarks. Is the only people I've ever met and that's the southern part of the state.
Okay, let's bring this back to your life.
Come on, Sean.
I'm trying to situate you.
Sean needs the exact latitude and longitude.
I do. Hold on. I'm mapping this. We say
exactly.
Hopkins, Missouri?
That's right. Yeah,
All right.
Missouri.
Okay, so you were in Hopkins.
Yeah, a town of about 600 people.
Okay.
That's a small town.
Yeah, it's very, very small. There's about as much going on there as you'd anticipate.
So how long were you in Hopkins then?
Well, from probably the age of like 10 till I graduated.
Google Maps does not recognize the existence of Hopkins, Missouri.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
So from 10 until when, did you say?
10 till I graduated high school. So,
Okay.
So how many
17,
people were in your
18,
high school then?
Oh, in high school, probably like maybe 150, but in my graduating class, 30 kids.
Wow. Okay.
Probably 3 of which are in jail now.
Well, it's a good
Really bummer shit.
It's only 3% rate. That's not
It's
too
not
bad.
bad. It's probably the national average.
Yeah.
It just you just really notice
that's
it when
no
it's
different
30
than being in a
kids.
class of 2,000 and having
Right.
60 kids in jail.
Yeah, that's true.
It's about the same ratio.
That's true.
Yeah.
So where did you go then? Where did you go after that? You went to college?
Well, don't assume too much because I
Remember, Hopkins MO.
Yeah, exactly. No, I did bounce around. I did go to community college or whatever, but I never graduated in college.
Okay.
I'm
well,
just
I
been
just
like,
assumed because you stayed there till high school, I assume that's the reason you left. But
it pretty much is. There's no use getting into all of it because literally I had a therapist one time.
Yeah.
I kind of started try to get into my life story, and she says, "Let me stop you right there. Next time your homework assignment is to write a fucking diagram when you go home and bring it back so I know what's going on. I need a
Okay, so
timeline
what was the next major city you landed in after Hopkins?
Probably San Francisco. I was up there. My uncle lived in San Francisco, so I kind of bummed around with him for a year.
Okay.
And then when did you eventually get back down here to Los Angeles?
To LA, that was probably about 2003, so now 13 years or so.
Now, at that point, because we're having you on because you do all this creative stuff.
Right.
You write and you got the film podcast. At what point did you start trying to exercise your creative muscles?
Way later than I probably should have. Like I said, I did not graduate college. Like I went to community college and I did some writing, but I was one of those people that hit 30 years old and had not done anything. And always said, "Oh, well, I'm going to write X someday." I have this note for whatever, and I would like feverishly write these notebooks full of ideas.
Yeah.
But then never actually sit down and write anything.
Now, what kind of stuff, when you say writing, was it long form? Were they short stories? Was it a screenplay? Like, what would have been the ideal version of the thing you would have written?
I mean, that's the problem. Every single one of those things, right? It was really not deciding
no
what
focus
it was.
to it.
Yeah, there was no focus.
Okay.
And now even, sometimes I'm like, I should do that as a screenplay. But then I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. But probably like the first writing writing training I got was probably reading like screenplay, like all the Sid Field books, all that kind of shit,
Save the Cat.
Yeah, exactly.
That fucking cat.
I did a workshop on Save the Cat, actually. once.
Well, it was called Suicide Squad.
Ugh, yeah. Nothing could save that movie. That was about
That cat is dead.
Yes.
So, Drunk Monkeys then.
Yeah.
Did you start that in a way to get like all your writing out there and stuff like that?
That's exactly what it was. It was exactly
So what was the first iteration? Was it a site? What was the first version of what Drunk Monkeys is now?
Pretty much the same as it's been. It was started out as a site. It's only kind of moved platforms, like from Blogger to WordPress to Squarespace when we are now.
Okay.
But although we have Squarespace and we have a podcast, but we're the only podcast not like sponsored by Squarespace.
Weird. Although still Harry's Razors, which is
yeah, exactly.
Stamps.com is still
Right,
out there.
Stamps. I think Stamps get a little bit more out of the podcast game. I haven't heard as many Stamps.
So tell us a little bit about Drunk Monkeys, because I've been listening to like the film podcast on it because I'm a film guy, but this site is all encompassing. It's part literary magazine. There's a lot going on. So tell us a little bit about it.
I mean, I think it just ends up, it's probably gotten more focused in the last couple of years, but I'm certain that when it started, I just have all these ideas that are constantly in my head and I want to do a million things. So I started a website that I said, let's do a million things with it. And it can be, essays, it can be short stories, it can be whatever. And then over the years, that's kind of been refined because when you have too wide a net, then you kind of...
Right, you're everything and nothing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So now we kind of really, there's a dual focus on literature and film. So we do poems, short stories, and we do some. We're probably going to get more political, I have a feeling, but we've always done kind of political essays and
Where
stuff like that.
You're going to have
too.
your spin-off site, Trump Monkey.
Right.
It's been hard not to get political lately in everything you do. I mean, I've heard it in your podcast. Has gotten like
Not here though. We've been insulated.
Oh yeah, my poor co-host Ryan was just pulling his fucking hair out, as were we all. But I mean, just was not sleeping because of this son of a bitch.
I don't know what
this
you're talking
is
about.
this. I mean, well, let's just say this, and then we'll stop it at least for this week. But I think this is the first week in weeks that we don't have something Trump related as one of our topics, because it's permeated the culture in such a way that it has affected I don't know what else is going on in the culture. So it makes sense that you would start adding more political stuff to your site at this point.
Well, to be fair, Al Gore did stop by this week for a very interesting conversation.
That's true.
But we didn't record it.
Okay, so back to what the site is now. So the literature and the film. How many people write for the site? How many people you have? And where do you find the content?
You guys have a deep bench. We looked at your writers and contributors. You got a lot of staff.
We have a big staff, and I did an anniversary issue where I kind of thanked every staff member. And I realized that over the 5 years now that we've been doing it, that's almost 40 people.
Wow.
In the history of the site, and that's really great. And that's some people moving in and out or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, also you killed 7 of them.
Well,
It's very sad.
Yeah, that's the blood sacrifice, right? That's all that's going on.
Make
if you look at Instagram and everything.
Deadline or else.
Yeah.
You framed it on the 3 people who got jailed.
Right.
Well, at that rate, that's 2 people in jail out of the 4.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to have those rubes to pin it on.
But it's nice that you have such a deep bench and you have so many people who are willing to contribute to the site.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I mean, you just 5 years of doing it, I've just met so many people, and they either came to me because they had stuff that they wanted published, or because they had seen the site and they liked it, or some of them are my friends and family. Because when I first started the site, I had friends who were writers who needed a place to put their stuff, and so I begged everyone for content, including my wife. My wife published poetry on the site.
I've seen some poetry on the site of hers. So.
Yeah.
Poetry on the site of hers.
Of her poetry on the site.
I'm an editor, but I let that slide. I let that slide.
She knows
That's
a guy.
fine. Yeah.
You gotta let these things slide on the show. So now I don't know what the hell I was gonna say. Oh, so here's my question then. So at what point did you say, well, we got all these great articles on the site, but people need to hear my voice. They need to hear what I have to say about film. And you decide to start a podcast.
I had the idea kind of from the start because, like everyone else, I started listening to podcasts in 2010.
I could be Mark Maron.
Yeah, exactly. That was it,
Just give me Seth Rogen in my garage.
Right, exactly. But no, it was just always being familiar with that, but not knowing much about the tech or whatever. And I actually... probably in 2013, so we'd only been doing this site for about 2 years, I did a big push to get it going, and I kind of sat down and said what it was going to be, and I had all these ideas, but then I just kind of, everything sort of fell apart with it. And it was really just getting together with the Filmcast guys, with Ryan and Lawrence, my co-hosts, and sitting down with them and saying, look, if I just leave it to me, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
So let's make this a thing together. Yeah. So them being really excited to come in every other week and talk is what keeps it going. Because you notice we also do interviews. Even the podcast is kind of split between stuff. But I'm so lazy about doing the interviews that it really helps to have the co-host to keep me going. Yeah, and maybe you guys have the same thing. I don't know.
Well, we have a good separation of duties in a weird way. I mean, it blends, but we kind of have our roles in structuring, getting this thing set up week to week, and just keeping it going. So,
and at this point, we've been doing it so long.
Yeah,
I don't think we can. I don't think we can stop.
What is life without the podcast?
Well, you always say, Sean, you're like, some people are in a bowling league. I have podcasts.
Yeah, I think of this as in a weird way, and I mean, it's not part of our professional lives, but it's like this wonderful hobby that we have. Yeah. Some people, they play dodgeball 4 nights a week. I don't do that. I do a podcast 1 night a week, and it takes some other energy just to get it up and running and keep it going. So in a weird way, this is like it's like a hobby, but it's a social hobby.
And
where
I
we can
assume
meet
you guys
people.
have been longtime friends. I mean, that's the same with and maybe not. Maybe there's some unspoken tension. I don't know.
Guy last week.
But with having Ryan and Lawrence in, I mean, these are just guys I've known for like 10 years, and so we just always talk about movies. We're just now doing it in front of microphones.
Right. Are you feeling you're getting a lot out of it then?
Yeah.
Putting this out there. And
Yeah,
stuff like that?
absolutely. It's really fun.
So the way you guys describe movies, the episodes tend to be kind of a hangout, where you
totally.
you single on something and you just sort of unpack it, describe it, discuss it.
Yeah.
You always start, I know, with oh, what did you see this week, kind of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of break it down into segments, so it's kind of just what you saw, and it's usually something kind of as random as possible. Orion goes to a lot of new movies. He sees pretty much every movie that's out there. So that's nice to always have kind of a new thing to talk about.
Like a new Purge.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you you do kind of a big deep dive on a new movie that you all see together, like Arrival recently. Yeah. The episode I listened to just this morning was Manchester by the Sea, which is a great film.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Probably the best made film that I've seen this year.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, what's your, did you not
No,
like it?
I really enjoyed the hell out of it, but...
Yeah. Enjoy is like a weird word, right?
No,
it's very
you know what?
intense.
Here's and this is like a bigger issue with me, which is I think in the last 7 to 8 years, movies need to occupy a different creative space because TV is muscled in on its territory.
That's true.
And I love Manchester by the Sea, but there was nothing that kept it from being a really good HBO movie. And for me, something like Nocturnal Animals that just has this just balls and style and vision behind it is much more interesting than something that's just raw and emotional like Manchester by the Sea, but I could have seen that, as an HBO original on TV.
Would say the only thing, because I do see your point, because you're right. I would say the thing that separates it is the level of acting, which even when you have really good actors in those HBO things, they tend to be like, you feel like they're only getting 2 takes. Thank God this is Al Pacino because they just were rushing it on.
Yeah.
But Michelle Williams and Casey Affleck just brought it. And I also think Lonergan's attention to detail in that movie really elevates
what works for me about Manchester by the Sea.
You had 5 years in the editing room. And,
exactly.
But here's it's what you said, and you touched a little bit about it on your podcast.
Right.
The movie works for me because it's about the little moments in life. There's like a little moment where a gurney can't quite get into into an ambulance, or these little touches that add such humanity to the movie that a lesser filmmaker wouldn't have put in there.
Like him driving across the bridge, like him going across the bridge over and over again.
Yeah, losing the car. That's so good. Car.
I mean, listen, it was a fantastic movie.
It didn't hit you emotionally, maybe?
No, it did. I was affected by it, but like I said, it's a bigger conversation. But I just have a totally different criteria for what I want out of a great movie with a capital M.
It's one of the 5 best movies I've seen so far this year. But you know what? Nocturnal Animals for me is higher.
Yeah,
that's a great fucking
movie. The movie has just more balls than Manchester by the Sea.
Wow.
For all.
Ryan was big on it.
I heard that in the episode.
He did see that.
And here's the compliment I will give your podcast then, because I was driving to work, listening to it today, and I was like, fuck you, I want to be in this conversation. I got something to say about Nocturnal Animals, and I think that's a good, I think these podcasts that are this kind of people hanging out, talking about topics, I think the best you can hope for is that people want to be in on that conversation. I think that's what you need, and that's what I think you have going with that. Definitely
that's a great compliment.
For cinephiles.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you don't like movies, you're not going to like this podcast.
Well, Chris always says, because we have these holiday parties, and sometimes it just ends up being me and my friends talking about movies for 2 hours, and it's just like, oh, I'm glad we invited everyone over to talk about movies for 2 hours.
Now, where's the eggnog and rum?
So let me ask this: like I said, I think the week before you did Arrival. Yeah. You did Manchester's one. How do you decide what movie you're going to see? And do the three of you does this ever cause like a wait a second, no, I have no interest in Arrival. We got to go see.
I'm trying to what crap is out now.
I was trying to
for
think
sure,
of something shitty.
Yeah, there's not.
We're in a good period. The summer was shitty, but we're in a good stretch now.
It's pretty good stretch. We've definitely had those times where, in fact, one time we did, there was a scheduling thing, but we did an episode that was focused on the films of 1996 because we didn't want to see Tarzan. We didn't see
Tarzan was fun. Tarzan
Well,
was
I guess we made the wrong pick.
drink 2 beers, go see Tarzan. You will enjoy the fuck out of yourself. Tarzan is an enjoyable movie and really needs a second look. I'm waiting for the critical reassessment. Tarzan.
Here's the thing.
Did I hit on something that was previously
No,
discussed?
I smiled more at Tarzan than I did in a lot of movies this year.
This doesn't surprise me. It fits into that. There's like
Three Musketeers.
Yeah, it fits into the sweet spot of things that
Like are well-made, entertaining, self-aware, know exactly what they're doing, and just entertaining as fuck.
I had no interest in the Tarzan story. I've never been interested in Tarzan.
Neither have
story.
I.
But a good I mean, it's a good director of it, right?
And you got Christoph Waltz, everyone there. You got Margot Robbie, Christoph Waltz. They're just chewing the scenery. It's beautifully shot. It's stupid as hell. It's Samuel Jackson knows exactly what he's doing there.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he plays. Oh, dude, it's a fun. It's not making a top 10 list, but I'm telling you, crack open, get a nice cocktail, fire up Tarzan on the Blu-ray or on the streaming. You'll enjoy yourself for an hour and 40 minutes.
Well,
Just go with the right mindset.
It sounds like you're going to own the Blu-ray, so you should have me and Mike over.
It's going on that pile of weird ass movies that I own.
Okay, but let's get back to so you didn't want.
By the way, I just bought Miami Vice on Blu-ray.
Oh, jeez. So,
Ride or die for Miami Vice.
Wow.
So that great Gong Li performance.
I own 4 versions of Alexander.
That I did know. But we're not going to get
There
into
are
that.
4 versions of Alexander for
I
you
know.
to own.
So okay,
That's the larger problem with society.
let's get back to.
I could do an Alexander, not one episode. I could do a podcast about Alexander.
So
Right now, everyone would just think it was a Hamilton podcast. So there are enough of those.
So you didn't want to see Tarzan, the great Tarzan movie.
Right.
Lord of Greystoke Manor.
And I think Suicide Squad is out at the same time.
Which I
so we
haven't
did
seen.
That. I did see that when I hit the Dollar Theater.
Yeah, it's not very good. I think
it's
there's some
bad.
good performances in it, but it's not.
She's
very
great
good.
in it.
The Margot Robbie performance you should see is in Tarzan.
I gotta get away. I'm trying to get away from.
That's
Tarzan.
one for the box cover. I think they should, yeah.
So, movies in 1996.
Yeah.
Independence Day.
This was what we have rudely interrupted.
No.
This was gearing for, I think, from the question of, are there ever like, how do we make the decision what to see?
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Wait, so you guys watch The Arrival and not Arrival?
That is actually what I said on the podcast, because I realized I had been calling it The Arrival, and then kind of I do a little outro thing, and I'm like, yeah, you should watch The Arrival instead. It's way better. Charlie Sheen's in it. Knees are backwards. It's
It
fun.
gets zoomed up. There's a big salad dish. Yeah.
I did not like Arrival. I liked The Arrival, though.
Okay.
So when things are a little slim pickings, you kind of you dig into the archives.
Yeah,
do like a
we've
96
we usually
thing.
can find something to agree on.
Not 1985. No one can agree on 1985.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So are you going to the movie? Are you at the movies every weekend? Are you like me, where every weekend you're at the theater?
It depends. I mean, it kind of depends what's out. Usually, like if we have one main movie that we're going to go, then I'll definitely obviously see that in the theater. Because we try to, a lot of times Lawrence, because he's got like a family and responsibilities and stuff. And exactly. So he won't always be able to see it, but I'd like at least for me and Ryan to be able to bounce off each other, and so to have both seen the movie.
Okay.
So I try to at least see that, and then whatever else is interesting.
Okay. Why don't you tell the listeners where they can find all this stuff, where they can find you, Drunk Monkey, the podcast.
The best films of 1996.
We link all of our stuff up on drunkmonkeys.us. That was not patriotic; it was just cheap.
Okay.
Although also patriotic, why not?
Yeah.
So that's the site, and that's where we now have our literary thing. Our literary magazine is in monthly issues. And so all of our issues are up there, and all of our past stuff there, and the podcast episodes too. And obviously you can find us on iTunes or whatever. Drunk Monkeys Radio is the name of it.
And you personally, like, are you on Twitter or things like that?
I'm on Twitter, but we used to actually do this thing where we live tweet movies, and that was kind of fun. We'd all get together and stream the same thing on Netflix. But since I stopped doing that, I'm just not on Twitter. I mean, on Facebook, you can find me at Guerruckey.
Were people
I'm there.
responding when you would live tweet a movie?
Every once in a while.
Okay.
Not like famous people.
Because it's like
but,
when Norm Macdonald live tweets a golf match, I'm like, no, I'm out.
Yeah, that's when you unfollow him for a few hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh shit, the Masters are on.
I know, exactly. Like I had to unfollow, rest in peace, but Roger Ebert was tweeting a lot. And I love Roger
Yes,
Ebert.
but he did it well.
He was really good. But like Kevin Smith was like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
We get it, you're high. Sorry.
Yoga Hosers is underappreciated.
Okay. Man, I'm loving you. I want a Sean Film Festival. I really do.
You do not want... Sean will program the... I needed this.
It'll be like a series of Fassbender films, or any one of Fassbender films, and then like Yoga Hose or something.
And I should write up just what the Sean Film Festival will look like.
It would be like Godard and then like Edge of 17.
No, and don't forget Fritz Lang's Spione. That's in there.
Well, if you are a good listener of the podcast, you've already been to the Drunk Monkeys website, because we will have a link to it on our Facebook page.
Yes.
Now, if I may suggest a movie that I think you have to cover, La La Land.
That's our next show?
You have to do it, because this is going to be... I mean, I'm a big Oscar guy. I don't know if you're a big Oscar. I'm a big
definitely.
Oscar guy.
Grew up watching him.
And this...
Big Stallone fan.
And this...
You guessed it, Frank Stallone.
No, the Stallone film, Oscar. From 91.
Oh, that's right.
Sean, we were watching the Oscars together, and Sean...
Do you see how quickly that slipped out of my memory forever in the last 25 years?
We were watching the Oscars together, and we were so confident Stallone was going to win the Oscar for Creed.
Yeah.
I think everybody was.
Yeah.
And he had a tweet all set to go out with like didn't you? With like the poster for Oscar.
This was like Matthew Iglesias' article about Hillary Clinton winning the presidency that he had to scrap.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's
yeah.
great. That's great.
This is how I felt about my Stallone Oscar tweet.
Yeah. But La La Land.
You should like send a copy of like the picture of it in your drafts just alone.
It's gone.
Like, I tried, dude.
La La Land is coming out.
Tell us how wonderful it is.
I'm going to tell you how wonderful. I think La La Land is going to win Best Picture.
Okay.
First of all, I think it's going to win Best Picture because I think it is a great movie. I really do.
Okay.
But it's also a crowd pleaser.
Like Billy Flynn's long halftime walk.
Yeah, it is. It is a crowd pleaser. Like Moonlight and Manchester, those are going to be Best Picture nominees too, and either of those could also squeak out a win. But the thing is, La La Land's not as heavy. La La Land's this just great, big, beautiful musical.
Now, do you think there will be some sort of backlash from last year's Oscar So White?
Right. If La La Land, which seems on its surface to be the whitest movie that's ever existed.
Well, John Legend's in it.
Right.
repeating our last point.
But that beats out Moonlight.
You mean John Tegan?
There'll at least be
Moonlight's
think pieces will be written.
Moonlight's going to win Oscars.
You think screenplay, maybe?
Yes, I think they're going to like honor Barry Jenkins with that.
Do you think Mahershala Ali?
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I actually would love Naomi Harris to win an Oscar. But I think she'll lose to Viola Davis for Fences. Here's the thing. Oscars So White, the problem was that there were no nominees. There were no African-American nominees. That is not going to be the case.
Well, Barry Jenkins is
That's
the Best
true.
Director nomination.
Yeah. And you're going to have a lot of... You're going to have Ruth Negga for Loving. You're going to have a lot of people nominated.
But the beautiful dancing white people in Los Angeles.
It's like my two favorite movies.
And John Legend.
It's like exactly. My two favorite movies here, like La La Land and Moonlight, you know?
Yeah.
But...
if only they danced in the moonlight.
So here's the thing, though. It got me thinking, because I saw this movie, and I'm not going to ruin it for you two who should just enjoy and experience this thing. But it got me thinking about the musical. And I knew we were having a
To
film.
be fair, the only way you could spoil this would be like to act it out and sing. Like you can't really spoil.
Well, you
musical.
said that you told me not to see the trailer, saying that it gives away a lot of the movie. And then in the span of 2 days, I saw the trailer twice in front of two different movies.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the trailer that I really wish wasn't in the trailer.
Okay. So both times I saw the trailer, the audience lost their shit. Before the age of 17, these two teenage girls were shrieking and like hooting and hollering and crying that they were so excited. They were just so enthused by this. I was like, oh, I want to have that much enthusiasm. Like as excited as I am, I will never match the level of these two, girls in their late teens, early 20s who just cannot wait. Like when Ryan Gosling shows up, when Emma Stone shows up, when they're dancing, they were just, I thought they were crying out of joy. It was unbelievable. Like, unbridled enthusiasm.
I went to an Academy screening.
Yeah.
And when the opening musical number ended, the audience erupted in applause.
Nice. Which was weird because it was the musical number, the crow singing Dumbo.
So, Matt, are you a movie musical guy? Do you like a good movie musical?
No, I realized, actually, because as I knew we were going to talk about this, I realized I really do love musicals. Like, legitimately.
I know people who love movies, and then occasionally, TV's Nick Wexler will come to me and go, I don't like musicals, though. I don't like musicals.
Yeah.
Like, they feel... See, for me, it's just another genre. But for some people, they feel the singing takes them out of the reality of it. But it's a movie. Like, I mean, if you can follow if Lord of the Rings having, like, fighting orcs and shit doesn't take you out of reality, I don't understand why breaking out in a song does. I mean, what do you think? Why do you think people have this problem?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because when the South Park movie came out, which is one of the best musicals ever made, my girlfriend at the time, her review of it was like, it really bugged me that they broke out in a song.
The cartoon
was a musical.
Cursing cartoon kids.
And but I don't know. I think maybe people just they don't. There's a reality they don't buy into or something. But it's a heightened reality. It's a musical, and so that's the point of it. That's the fun of it. We get to do things in musicals we don't do in regular movies.
Well, there's two kinds of movie musicals. Are the ones where the songs are part of the plot or they're diegetic. The characters are singing because they are characters who sing in their lives, or like cabaret-ish would be an example where the musical moments are part of the character singing in the cabaret. And then there's the movie musicals like Singing in the Rain, where they just break out into song, or the Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers musicals,
or like Chicago, where the framing device is that it's in her head.
Well, so every 10 years or so, Hollywood tries to resurrect the movie musical, and over the last 30 years, it's gotten more desperate because you have like this wave of directors that grew up on movie musicals. So like the classic example is Scorsese's New York, New York, and then Francis Ford Coppola's what's it?
One from the Heart.
One from the Heart, which famously he tried to create, which basically what La La Land, when I first heard about it, reminded me of, which is Coppola tried to create this classic movie musical set in Los Angeles in this Technicolor heightened reality, and he wanted to recreate everything on real sets and build everything out, and he was so fanatical about it that he ended up bankrupting his whole studio in pursuit of this vision that he had of the perfect movie musical. So when I heard about La La Land, I was thinking, oh shit, Chazelle is squandering all of his whiplash goodwill on this, this is always the folly, They get the one big movie and then they go do the dream project.
Yeah, he's Heaven's Gating it really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, was this going to be his Heaven's Gate? Or Michel Havanicius, who after The Artist went and decided he was going to do his his Bosnia-Herzegovina refugee film, and we haven't heard from him since.
I didn't know about that.
Did that ever even come out?
I don't think it ever got a U.S. release. It crashed and burned and never got out of Europe.
Well, La La Land...
If only The Artist had crashed and burned.
See, I like The Artist.
Separate issue.
I'm very charming. I actually think La La Land's charming in a lot of the similar ways.
As The Artist?
Yeah.
Well, that was my worry. When I heard he was doing a musical, I was like, oh, shit. He decided this is... Okay, he's chosen his next hill to die on.
Right.
But, you're telling me it's a good movie, so I'm excited. But, the movie musical has really been, since it became less popular, almost like the Western, where every now and then people try to revive the Western.
But neither ever goes away.
That's true.
There's always good ones that come. I mean, we're not that. I guess we are. 2002 is a long time ago. Chicago won.
Remember when the Oscars of 2012, they decided they were going to turn it into the 10-year anniversary of Chicago? This whole Oscar ceremony celebrating Chicago. It's like,
all right.
Are there musicals of recent year? Because I guess it has been a little while since I saw a musical I really...
Recent.
I mean, things like Hairspray, things that are Broadway shows turned into movies.
Fun.
But it had a pre-existing property.
Yeah, that's true.
Hairspray, Rent, the producers,
Oh, so if we're talking original musicals,
there aren't really
because Chicago was a stage show. Dreamgirls, which was a hit, that was a stage, and I like Dreamgirls quite a bit too. And that's not that long ago. That's within the last.
Well,
10
get ready for Hamilton, the movie musical.
Well, they
coming
say
to theaters 2019.
I'm a big Hamilton fan, and apparently they're not doing that movie for 20 years.
Says who?
Says Lin-Manuel Miranda.
We'll see.
Hopefully not. I mean, there's money there. He's got to get his EGOT quick, right? But
he's going to win an Oscar this year
for Moana.
For a song from Moana.
Yeah.
All right, you get it, Lin-Manuel. You get that gold.
Another great movie musical, maybe one of my all-time favorites, which is like both original and not original.
The Gold Diggers of 1933.
Moulin Rouge.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you don't like Moulin Rouge?
I love Moulin Rouge.
Oh, sorry, the look on my face. This is a long.
What don't you like about Moulin Rouge?
Most things about it.
What?
What? I don't like the technique. I don't like a lot of Luhrmann's technique. He is. It's just so jittery. Just like I can't. The camera never stops for a second on anything, and I had a problem with using the way they use the pop songs. Didn't rang false for me.
It worked for me. I mean, Luhrmann is like showman.
Yeah.
Like it's all like Hollywood showmanship that I buy into a lot. I don't know.
He's big.
I could have done without Australia, but Moulin Rouge to me, the beginning of that movie is such like kinetic madness.
I love it.
But
I
like
saw it
in
3
such
times in theaters. I loved it.
in such a great way. But then it slows down, and then I think you really get emotionally invested.
I will
in
say
the
that.
story.
I will
Like,
say that I loved the end of it. I thought Nicole Kidman and Ewan McGregor are great actors, so I was emotionally invested in that. But I was so checked out before.
So name us some movie musicals you like then.
Well, see, now I've just trashed Moulin Rouge, and I like the trashiest musical of all time, which is Jesus Christ Superstar. My absolute favorite musical, one of my favorite movies in general, and it is so over the top. And in fact, Superstar is like a bad production, kind of. It's not good. I've seen other productions of it. It's bad. But the movie hangs together in this really great way for me.
What about
it's
Mamma
so
Mia?
cheesy. I've not seen
Mamma Mia is one of Universal Pictures' highest-grossing global films of all time.
How is that possible?
It did like $600 million globally.
It's terrible. You
It-
got Pierce Brosnan trying to sing a song.
It made so much money.
All Mamma
It's-
Mia ever gave my life was that audition tape of Chris Klein singing for Mamma Mia. Have you seen that?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But no, that is like one of it's unbelievable how much money that movie made globally. It didn't do well in the States. It made bank overseas.
That's a terrible movie.
It is. I saw it on a plane.
I didn't see
Amanda
that one. I
Seyfried.
didn't see that one.
None of us are mentioning though. I mean, you mentioned Singing in the Rain briefly, which, by the way, I'm dying to rewatch Singing in the Rain since seeing. La
Well,
La
you know what I
Land.
want to rewatch?
But-
I want to watch
I bet.
Star is Born.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah.
to rewatch A Star Is Born
Since
because we
the
recently
culture- yeah.
saw a clip from it. How about any like of the classic ones, like really like The Sound of Music,
Man, Meet Me in St. Louis,
My Fair Lady.
I'm not big on the Sound of Music. I mean, The Wizard of Oz.
Mary Poppins.
very good.
So I have a weird thing about the My Fair Lady, not My Fair Lady, Funny Girl. My mom used to sing to me the entire Funny. I was as a child when I was like 3. My mom used to sing Funny Girl to me, like the soundtrack. She knew it by heart. 'Cause she was a big Barbra Streisand fan. I know the whole Funny Girl soundtrack by heart. So that's a thing.
Well, this is probably the reason I like Superstar and like Phantom of the Opera
Yeah.
is that my mom was well. Okay,
Les Mis.
this is so much more information than you need, but like she was bipolar, so she would cycle up and clean the house at 3 a.m. and blast like Phantom and Jesus Christ Superstar. So I'm probably
There you go.
working
They had
through something.
Les Mis a couple years ago. You know, like Hollywood every few years tries to resurrect the music. Oh, Sweeney Todd, whether via a known property or something.
Yeah.
Well,
this
La La
is because
Land's
it's,
one of
well,
the-
how's the let me ask you, how are the songs in La La Land? Because are they all original?
Yes, and I'm going to say there aren't a ton of them.
Okay.
Like it's not like they're singing their way through the movie.
okay.
I mean, there are a lot of songs,
Right.
but it's not like I would if I saw a list of the songs.
But there are like
'cause
12
there are a lot
songs.
of like yeah, exactly. There's
Okay.
not like 12 songs or anything like that, and at least one of them I've had stuck in my head.
Well, okay, one thing we know what the great musicals are. We're not talking about which are the Disney animated films.
That's
like
true.
those are. That's in a weird way they became the new movie musicals.
We all know all the songs from Little Mermaid, Beauty, and the Beast,
Aladdin, Lion King. Like
Lion King.
you could sing even Hunchback of Notre Dame. That one.
I don't know.
I ride or die for that one.
I don't think I could do that. I do know some songs from Pocahontas though, and it's a terrible movie, but
Yeah.
they
I
played it
know-
a lot on the radio.
Yeah.
I
so-
know one song from the Colors of the Wind.
Colors of the
Yeah,
Wind.
yeah.
But it's so that the Disney and even like now recently Frozen and now Moana and they've co-opted what the role of the musical was, and in a weird way that makes sense because music. I mean, they had music even in the classic Disney movies, but musicals are basically live action cartoons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true.
it makes sense that the cartoons would become the cartoons.
Yeah, emotions are so big, and I
Yeah.
think you're more accepting of that. And the way we said, some people who aren't into musicals aren't accepting of the reality. You are when it's
Except for
it's
New
not
York,
real.
New York, with Robert De Niro's beating the shit out of Liza Minnelli.
Right.
All right, moving on because we are running long.
Let it go, Will.
So I'm on Twitter all last week.
What the hell's Twitter?
Because I'm always on Twitter. You left Twitter. Get back on Twitter. Sean. I miss your snarky comments.
Get on Facebook. It's where it lives.
No, I'm not.
I need at least a solid month. Election. It hasn't been a month yet since election night. I made one tweet when Andrew Sachs died. I logged on, made one tweet, and logged off.
Okay.
I didn't read anything.
So everyone on Twitter has been talking about Gilmore Girls. The Gilmore Girls are back. Your favorite from Star Hollows or whatever. The Gilmore Girls are back with their witty,
Snooki and Emily and Lorelai
with
and
their
Craig Lean, whatever her
and
name is.
their fast-paced dialogue and their Capra-esque world they live in. And everyone in my Twitter feed was like, tweeting about the last 4 words of Gilmore Girls. And I was like...
Yeah, new President Donald Trump.
I got really caught up in it, though. I was like, what is this? Like, I don't care about this show. I've never watched the show, but I need to know what the last 4 words. So I started Googling it, and then I was finding articles that talked about the last 4 words, but didn't say the last 4 words, and it was driving me insane. And it made me realize that Gilmore Girls is probably a show that if I had watched it when it was on, I probably would have actually enjoyed it. Because it seems like a quality show. Yeah. But I didn't, and now I'm left out forever, and it this revival, and everyone's talking about it, and I can't be part of it, and I had this pop culture fear of missing out. So, Matt, I wanted to ask you, what is a pop culture thing you have major fear of missing out on? Like that you see everyone is talking and enjoying, or maybe not even enjoying, but it's like, I need to be in on this, but yet you're not.
I think it's probably The Walking Dead comes to mind.
You're not missing anything.
Yeah, that's what I gathered. Like, I'm fascinated with with this kind of almost abusive relationship that these fans have with the show. Because I was out after season 1. I watched the first season. For me, The Walking Dead is a show that was a great pilot, terrible second episode, and then a really middling first season, and I was done. But I've had friends try to get me into it. Everyone on my Facebook or Twitter or whatever is just going off whenever there's a new episode. And of course, this year with the whole who got beat in the head with a fucking baseball bat, because that's so entertaining. So I did, they posted that clip, so I watched the clip. I don't know why anyone's entertained by this. It's fucking disturbing.
That, to be fair, is the most disturbing thing they've done, and the most disturbing thing I've ever seen on television.
Yeah, exactly. So I have this weird thing where I'm curious about it, and I'll read all the kind of, everyone's like, oh, this is trash, and someone will and then no, but this is actually great. So I'll read all of that, and I'm kind of aware of the show. Game of Thrones is the same way.
But you watch Game of Thrones?
I don't watch it, but I know so much about the show because it's there.
You know nothing.
I guess I know nothing.
You know nothing,
Jon
Jon Snow.
See, I know that. I know that. I know what Game of Thrones means, but I never watched Game of Thrones.
Why don't you watch Game of Thrones?
We don't have HBO, and it seems like I got to sit down and get into it.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym. You gotta really dig in.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, once you get so far,
I've seen the pilot probably 3 times, thinking I'm gonna power on. And
you've seen the poor Bran get thrown off the tower.
Yeah, exactly.
The things funny. I do for love.
I know I could, if I want, just start watching Gilmore Girls.
You're not going to.
I'm not going to, because it's too far. It's almost like right now for you to watch Game of Thrones. That's a daunting fucking experience.
It is.
Those are 2 big ones that you're missing out on.
Yeah.
So, Sean, how about you?
Well, the big one for me is a couple, but the big one is probably something like The Sopranos. But it's also not as all-pervasive. It's just something that I know that I've missed out on, but it's also something that I know that I will get to eventually.
You've been saying that for over 4 years.
I got to get the courage up because, I know it ends in just a black nothingness. And I know there's that Columbus Day episode I got to confront at some point.
That's true. Yeah, that's a rough one.
But sometimes for me, it's things like books. So, like the Elena Ferrante novels is something that it's like, oh, shit, I got to read this. They're so popular. But then I get annoyed whenever there's a book that's way too popular. So, for example, Gone Girl, which I know you love and I really disliked. I was like, oh, I want to read this. And then there's
dispute your dislike.
Things like Girl on the Train. I'm like, I'm not doing this. And even Hunger Games, I got on board, but I read the first 2 books, and then eventually I'm like, I don't want to read the 3rd book. I don't enjoy this enough. I'll wait for the movies.
You didn't miss a thing.
I don't know. There are things. I'm trying to think if there's any shows.
Well, you mentioned also some music.
Music is another thing. So, for me, rap music has always been this big blind spot for various reasons, but people will talk about, there's this new Tribe Called Quest album, and I'm like, who the hell are they?
Right.
And everyone's like, you don't know who Tribe Called Quest? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I was growing up a middle-class Orthodox Jewish, existence when these albums came out. It didn't exactly make my radar.
Right.
So I went on Spotify. I'm like, oh, these guys are pretty good. There's something here. So a lot of popular music tends to pass me by, and then I have to circle around. Like when D'Angelo came out with his new album, and I was like, who the hell's this? Everyone's going crazy for the new D'Angelo album. I'm like, all right, I guess I need to look into this.
I would say I consider myself to be extremely pop culture savvy.
Yeah.
However, this morning,
Yeah.
the morning that we're recording this, it'll be almost a week when this goes up, but was the morning like of the Grammy nominations.
Yes.
How was it?
And when I looked at some of them, it's like, I know Adele, I know Beyonce,
You don't
I
know
know
Schoolboy
Rihanna.
Q?
But then I was looking at, but then when I get into some of these categories, I'm like, who the hell are these people? And music is the one place, unless they're really big, unless they're like Lady Gaga or something, it doesn't break my way. Whereas I'll talk about some obscure, like Todd Solondz film that came out
You don't know
this
about the
year.
new Chance the Rapper album.
Exactly.
Coloring book's pretty good.
So that's, I mean, how do you feel about music? Do you feel the same way over music? Or
I just,
are you up on everything? Are you hip with the kids?
No, I'm way past. I think I have that thing where they say like past 30, you're literally like your ears and your brain stop accepting new tunes and like seeking them out. I think I have that because I don't.
But that's
care
what I think,
about
and it
new
takes
music.
effort. It's like these things, they kind of come across my radar. I go, okay, you know what? I need to seek this out. I need to sit down. I need to. Also, what's nice is that these things are easy now to access.
Yeah.
You know, there isn't this. You don't need to go out and seek out some mixtape or some remix, or I don't need to go through record stores looking for something in the stacks. Everything is easily accessible, so it's almost like I feel if something comes across the radar and people are talking about it, it doesn't take me that much effort to figure out what this is and listen to it. You know, it's on Spotify. I put on my headphones. I listen to it. It's like, okay, think about it. Maybe I'll listen to it again.
Yeah.
All right, I'm good. At least I can form some basic opinion about this thing.
Yeah, but that for me, I think, is part of the reason why I'm not doing these things. I think there was a whole routine to watching MTV and waiting to see what was new, or going to the record store, physically going and doing and having a product when you were done with it. And I'm not hanging out on Spotify or YouTube or
Well, the
whatever
flip
fuck
side of
kids
that is,
are watching
you
this
just go on
music.
iTunes or you go on Spotify and see what's the global top 50.
Yeah.
What's the top, and it's just like I just click on like, okay, what are the top 10 songs in the world right now? Oh, it's a 20-minute project, and some of them you'll hear go, oh, I know this one already. Okay,
right.
And it's like, oh, that's what this is called. I know this song. Okay, I guess this is Halsey. And then you move on to
That's a good one because, like, that's exactly like an artist that I vaguely know.
And then you can kind of put it all together, and it really, it's almost like doing a little pop culture exercise, but like literally like working out and just spending a little time online and figuring out, especially with music, where it's so easy to get into your silo. So,
you said the thing like after 30, like, but I you know what drives me crazy about that a little bit is I think some people, like, it's one thing if like we're now set in our musical ways. I dislike when people start discounting the new thing.
Yeah,
because
that's
there's
not fair.
always
Not fair.
there's always good. I know people are always like they don't make good movies anymore. Well, sure they do. Like, and I'm sure in the 1950s,
like Tarzan.
when we think, but I'm sure like, people like, oh, in the 50s and 60s, Hollywood was making movies or something.
Yeah.
But I bet you those people were like, man, they don't make them like they did in the 30s.
yeah, where's Al Jolson?
And what I always say to people, because we seem to be inundated with so much shit, like so much garbage, movies like Suicide Squad or something. Well, the thing is, they were always making shit movies. And it's just, we know the ones that stood the test of time. 30 years from now, people might remember La La Land and they won't remember Suicide Squad. Well, who knows? Speaking of things...
Considering that's a movie that might bankrupt an entire studio, they might remember it for that.
Speaking of things that they will always remember, they will always remember a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars will clearly stand the test of time. And last week, tickets went on sale for what is arguably the most anticipated movie this winter,
Jackie. Oh.
Sorry. Rogue One. We had an email chain. There was an email chain between Sean, myself, and a couple other friends that went into planning how we would buy the tickets to a Thursday night screening. This email chain, there were over 50 emails that were sent back and forth. We compiled lists of attendees. We checked it twice. We argued over which theater and in what format we would see it in until our plan was foolproof. Except the Star Wars industrial complex forgot to tell us when tickets were going on sale. We had to tease out hints from fucking Twitter bots and Entertainment Weekly, but eventually, like the Rebel Alliance, we got our hands on the information. Tickets went on sale on a Sunday night at 9:01 Pacific Standard Time. That's midnight in the fucking East for you people. Since we had chosen to see the movie 2D because fuck 3D, and an arc light because we wanted the assigned seating because fuck work. Sean, the only paying ArcLight member in the group, was responsible for purchasing all of our tickets. And it was a fucking feeding frenzy. Sites were crashing. ArcLight.com slowed to a crawl. Fandango was putting people in a Minion-themed virtual queue, and tickets were disappearing. Finally, we were able to get 7 tickets, yes, 7, for an 8 p.m. screening at the ArcLight in Sherman Oaks. Now, here's the fucking problem. We're going to have to go through this shit every year for the rest of our lives because there's a fucking Star Wars movie every year. Next year, we got to do this for Episode 8, then the Han Solo movie, then Episode 9. Star Wars, you got to come up with a better system for this shit. This is no way to live. And that's why you, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, Gareth Edwards, Ryan Johnson, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, Colin Trevorrow, everyone who's ever going to direct a fucking Star Wars movie till the end of time, and last but not least, George fucking Lucas, or this week's enemy of the podcast, go fuck yourselves. We can't do this nonsense every year. We need a better system. I prefer like a Hunger Games style lottery or something. We need a better system with getting Star Wars tickets. What do we do, Sean?
Well, so apparently there were some rogue websites, like ticket sales websites that weren't Fandango movie tickets, that weren't crowded up and were able to get people the tickets they wanted. And because they weren't experiencing as much bandwidth, they had much better experiences. And so they took this opportunity to make a name for themselves, like, come to us, the ticket website that won't crash. I think the problem is that we just know Fandango and we just know ArcLight, but there just needs to be more channels to get these tickets. But there's only a finite number of seats, so I don't know. And the problem was that as time went on, so you had the first sets of screenings. So like ArcLight Hollywood just had their domes, 3D dome screening. So I was like, no. But then like 5 minutes later, more screenings started coming online at each of these theaters. So I was like, what are you doing? Like, as I refreshed, there were like new and like more and more screenings. So it was this like whack-a-mole game. And the biggest problem was not necessarily getting the tickets. It was 7 people. So in the future, I'm capping this shit at 4. That's it. Like,
well, I'd like to point out 4 was the original number.
Yeah, more than 4, you're on your goddamn own. I'm not doing anyone any favors.
Then somebody was like, can you get my friend a ticket? Okay, 5's doing. Can you get my friend,
boyfriend and their mom
and their mother a ticket? Fuck
so
you.
Which means is now we have excess tickets. So we'll be running a Hunger Games style lottery for those.
Yeah.
Because
the whole
I volunteers tribute for that.
There we go.
One of those tickets to go with you guys.
Well, since I'm the one that's out the money, I think I have the final say who gets the fucking tickets. Because I'm the one with the big. Although that being said, I got enough fucking ArcLight points now to last me for like another year and a half.
Sean, would we have been like? Here's a crazy.
We would have been
thought.
better off with fewer people because I would have snagged better
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would it have been better for me to just drive to the ArcLight, buy tickets
Unclear.
in person, or is that like?
No, because they literally just started the seats. The screenings went online and seats were literally getting sucked up.
Last year, back on Long Island, I saw Episode 7 on
That's
Long
Island.
But, but it was still sold out shows at a nice theater. The other Sean in my life, Sean Corkery, back on Long Island, the site kept crashing for him. He was in the middle of band practice, and he kept trying to stop to buy tickets. And finally, he just drove to the theater and was like, give me what you got.
No, especially something like in L.A., at the ArcLight, as new screenings were coming out, you should have seen this. Like every time I refreshed or tried to get back in, there were fewer and fewer seats, and it was like vacuuming up just seats from every
You
theater.
said it was the most stressful 20 minutes of your life.
Yes, and I've done the Jeopardy online auditions.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Matt, so let's get to you here on this.
Sure.
Are you excited for Rogue One? You gotta be. Oh. The face,
I'm very expressive, apparently. You always know where I'm going before. I mean, I'm not unexcited. I love Star Wars. Star Wars is,
What does that mean?
It means that I'm interested. I'm intrigued. I'm not sure it'll be good. I'm not sure it's a story that needs to be told. It looks cool. The trailer looks really cool.
I get chills every time I see the shot of her
walking up to the TIE Fighter.
Walking up to the TIE Fighter. That shot is like, I hope whatever's happening at that moment in the movie is as good as what I think it is.
I don't get chills on that. I've not gotten chills for anything. I've thought those locales look really cool. I'm just not sure. I just need to be. It needs to be proven to me why this story matters. Though I will say, I know
Matters has nothing to do with it.
well, it certainly doesn't to Disney and their stockholders, and that's part of the problem. Is that I also am starting to feel like a little too much of a consumer. Like they're just like, you like Star Wars,
100%.
you like Star Wars, you like Marvel, you're gonna watch this, motherfucker, no matter what you do.
It's the remember me.
Yeah.
Remember this? Remember the Death Star?
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
Darth
exactly.
Vader? Yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
it's an absolute cynical nostalgia play.
Yeah.
But I'm all in.
Yeah, I'm all into it because okay, here's the thing. I don't think this will be as good as Episode 7, but I thought Episode
Remember
7
Grand
was
Moff
really good.
Tarkin? Remember?
Well, I
Grand
tell you
Moff
what.
Tarkin I hear is in it. But see, I love Episode 7. Like, I was all in for that. I saw that 5 times in the theater. That's the most I've ever seen any movie
For
in
someone
the
who
theater.
gave it a B-, I saw it 4 times.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
it's a damn fun movie. It's a damn fun movie, and it gave us Daisy Ridley, who should be a really big star.
Yeah,
and
she
that's
was
awesome.
good. Her and John Boyega, they had amazing. Here's the thing: why that movie worked, and I should give it a rewatch before Rogue One.
Oh, you should, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Remember Star Wars 7?
But
Remember Kylo Ren?
what the chemistry between Daisy Ridley and John Boyega was off the charts, and.
Too bad they won't end up together. 'cause
Yeah,
they're
wait
actually
till you get
siblings.
Poe Dameron swooping in there, and come on.
But the thing about it
I'm
was,
picking Poe
I'm
Dameron.
not even saying romantic. I'm just saying it's like 2 actors, and it was everything that the prequels were missing. Like, there's no chemistry between people in those movies, particularly between Hayden Christensen
Well, yeah.
and Natalie Portman.
Oh, you tell me Attack of the Clones had no chemistry? That movie, that John Williams score was doing so much heavy lifting in Attack
Yeah.
of the Clones.
Yeah.
It's a great score, though.
So,
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, a better score. Really good score. Yeah, it's great.
so you're not. So obviously you weren't like us. Like, I mean, we for weeks had email chains going, just speculating when tickets were going on.
No, my
sale.
story was literally my friend said, so do you want to go? Yeah, sure. And he's going to get tickets probably. Like,
What? How?
That's it.
But not on the Thursday night.
Well, it's a good thing I'm
we'll
not on
see.
Twitter anymore, because I remember when Episode 7 came out, I had to go off Twitter at around 4 p.m. because people were already getting into screenings, and there was already shit leaking out the day of, and I'm like,
Yeah.
who are these assholes that like are seeking out spoilers for the movie? Just stop it. Just enjoy the experience, you know?
Yeah.
Because they had done the premiere like 3 days before, and they did a pretty good job of locking it down.
Yeah.
And like everyone who was in that premiere was like, you know what? Like, Patton Oswalt wasn't going to go and spoil the movie for people.
I personally knew about half a dozen people who were at that premiere, and it kills me because some people from when I was working at Collider,
Sure.
Sam Witwer was there.
But like,
all
I
these
don't worry about
people.
this much. I don't know that there's that much to spoil. Like, I think Episode 8 for me is just gonna be like, don't tell me a fucking thing.
Well, here's my thing. When Episode 7 ended, I said, fuck Rogue One. I just want to get to Episode 8. But then when I saw the first trailer for Rogue One, I'm like, oh, I'm in for Rogue One.
But you know what? I don't feel like there's much urgency because I know that it's
Yeah.
standalone. It's like, I know it's gonna be an adventure story. I know it's gonna have to react. I know it's gonna be fun, but it doesn't have as much weight for the Star Wars
I mean,
world
that's what
I'm
as
responding
Episode
to, I
7
think.
would.
Yeah.
Obviously, Episode 8, Episode 9,
Yeah.
you see the opening night. But are you down for, like, every Star Wars movie, it should be the tradition that we go the
Yes.
Thursday night? Okay,
Yes.
good.
Wow, you're locked
Says the
in.
man who was like got tickets a week early for the re-release of the original trilogy
I
in
did that.
1997.
I did that too,
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
day.
And
Yeah.
who was there for opening night of Phantom Menace.
I
and
was there too, yeah.
So, yeah, I'll be there. Also, this Han Solo movie, I'm very excited for. I like everyone involved. I think it's going to be ridiculously fun and self-aware and winky
see,
and ridiculous.
That's the one you brought up, like the cynical consumer. That's the one that I question the necessity of. Like
Really?
Rogue One, I feel like this could be a cool story to tell and introduce me to new characters and introduce me to new things in the Star Wars universe. I don't need to know what I kind of know what Han Solo was doing before, and I know young Han Solo.
I don't
I've
know.
seen him.
When he
shot
was
first.
Nah, when Han Solo was running women on the streets of Corellia, and he was a dirty street pimp. He's beating women.
He was dealing in those death sticks.
That's it. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
dealing those death sticks. Han Solo had a rough upbringing. What do you get to see him? How his dad abandoned him to go buy a pack of fire sticks. Never came back.
Are you down for all these? You're going to see all these Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that's
until
the
the
thing.
end
The
of
Boba
time.
Fett one's the one that I
I'll see
feel
it
is the
no matter
most
what.
cynical. I don't give a shit about Boba Fett.
Now that could be interesting if they were supposedly going to go like a bounty hunter movie that was kind of like Man with No Name, sort of, Western direction.
Well,
you
the
could make
Boba-
that
The
interesting.
Magnificent Seven with Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you think? We need more men.
I'll tell you, here's the Boba Fett movie.
He rolls into town. There's 2 warring tribes.
No.
Yeah,
Boba Fett
yeah.
movie. This is my Boba Fett movie. I'm
Yeah.
going to pitch it right here.
All right, do it.
And it's also it's like a gritty R-rated.
Is it Unforgiven?
It's a gritty R-rated Boba Fett movie, but the movie starts with a fucked up looking Boba Fett pulls himself out of the Sarlacc pit. And the movie is just about him. He's got his slave 1 is on the other side of
The outlaw
Tatooine.
Josie Wales.
And he has to he's got to get back to his ship. He's got to get to slave 1. And he's just moving through Tatooine and dealing and showing back up at the cantina.
They tried to kill him. They should have left him for dead. They left him for dead. They should have
It's like a fucked up Boba Fett.
The outlaw Boba Fett.
And it's violent, and he's just making his way through Tatooine to get back to his ship.
And he kills his way through the Hutt crime syndicate. It's basically known as Point Break. No, sorry, Point Blank.
What?
Point blank.
Point Blank.
Now there's a movie.
I want my 30,000 credits. That's it? That's all you want? And he kills his way up the crime syndicate through the galaxy. That's it.
I mean, that's a good Boba Fett movie.
That'll work.
I don't know. Oh, Point Blank with Boba Fett. Just working his... I want to see that. Where he just wants his money for the bounty. Like, that's all you want?
I want the Quentin Tarantino directed Boba Fett movie. Clearly, that's what I want.
It's going to have 7.5 minutes just in a cellar.
All right.
And now we're full circle from the beginning of the episode.
There we go.
Well, I always like to end on
this is
a weird
fucked
note. And here's a story that caught our eye. An amusement park in Japan was forced to close an ice skating rink with which had approximately 5,000 dead fish frozen beneath its surface after the attraction received overwhelming criticism. Basically, the ice aquarium at Space World, located in the city of... Oh, you put this in here just for me to have to pronounce it.
Kitakyushu.
Kitakyushu was... basically, they froze a bunch of fish in the thing because they thought having 25 varieties of frozen sea creatures would be amusing for the guests.
It's like you're skating over an ocean.
Makes you really feel like you're in space, too.
No, but like you're floating, that you're skiing, that you're skating over like the ocean, and you could look down and see the fish below you.
Right, but it was called Space World?
Well,
it's
Japan.
It's
Okay.
Japan.
I guess.
You know
Yeah.
what Japan is. It's actually Space
But here's
World.
the thing: it's not like they even tried to make it like the way it would be in the ocean. They had dead fish spelling out words like "hello."
Yeah, they lined them up. It was fucked up.
So it ended up just really upsetting everyone because like all these dead fish are here.
They put some in the shape of an arrow to direct guests. So they would line up the fish in an arrow, and then they were just frozen dead fish. The owner of the theme park has since committed harakiri.
No.
So good on you, Japan. Although, to be fair, Japan, as it is, has a really cavalier attitude towards fish, living and dead, as evidenced by their dolphin hunting activities. Which apparently, there's some actress who's like, Ariel Winter? One
From
of these...
Modern
or Haley...
Family?
Hayden Panettiere?
No.
Hayden Panettiere is in the cover.
That there's like these actresses that are like...
Shailene Woodley.
Yeah, well, no, she's up in North
she's
Dakota.
busy.
Yeah. But yeah, who's like been going to Japan to draw attention to the dolphin hunting activities. So
I think that's Hayden Panettiere.
no, but I think also Ariel Winter's been out there or something.
Okay, I don't know much about Ariel Winter.
She's a fun Snapchat follow.
And on that note, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
One more time, tell the people where they can find you and Drunk Monkeys.
Drunkmonkeys.us. You can follow me at Guerruckey.
There you go. Simple. Well, no, it's not. Guerruckey's not simple.
Don't even ask me how to spell it. Just,
Blame your parents.
show notes.
Sean.
You could you're assuming I'm going to spell it correctly, the show notes. You can follow me on all forms of social media at the Sean David. I am on Twitter, but I'm not on Twitter.
You can follow me on Twitter at The Real Will Link. I've got no shows booked, and someone last night said to me, I can't wait to go see one of your shows, and I said, well, you know what? I have none booked. I got to get back out there on that circuit. I got to write some new essays.
Get on it.
I've been busy writing other things, which you've been busy reading.
Yeah. Thanks, Will.
And so that's been occupying my time. Also, sad news to report.
What? Who died?
The Giantess Network.
Oh.
Which was the home of my Orphan Black podcast. So going into one more season of Orphan Black, I have to find yet another home for me to talk about Orphan Black. I will be working on this.
You have until April?
I have until April.
Okay.
I have until April before it's
Collider don't want you back?
before it's you and me sitting here every Thursday night.
Where I'm like, who's that guy? Who's that? What'd that guy do? I can't remember. Who's he again?
No, you're just running the boards. You're not talking about the show.
Okay. Why does he have a tail?
But we'll figure that out.
Okay.
On the show next week, we have Tyler Davis. Tell us who Tyler Davis is.
Tyler
Sean.
Davis is, we got two interesting things about Tyler Davis. He is a sound engineer, but he is someone who has done a lot of live events, including rallies for Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and Donald Trump. He runs sound engineering for a lot of these Q&A events, live events, celebrities when they go. So he's got a lot of interesting stories to tell about that. He is also a former Scientologist.
And he said he was willing to talk about
that's it. This is going to be our Leia Remini moment.
I was going to say, take that, Leia Remini. We've got Tyler Davis.
And then after that, we got some asshole. What's this guy?
This fucking
who you keep
guy.
booking every year.
Alex Stein is coming back to the show for a record 5th time.
Got nothing better to do?
Well, we always like to have him on once a year, even if he's got nothing to plug, because he's a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, terrific writer and performer. But we figured we'd have him on for our last show of the year, and we could do a little breakdown about how shitty this year has been.
Yeah, and we could already give you a preview who the enemy's going to be that week.
Yeah, you know what? Go back and listen to the last episode from last year, and you'll have a pretty good idea who the enemy
How'd that
is
work
gonna
out
be.
last?
It was dead on. It was dead on.
So
I said 2016 was going to be shitty and was already the enemy of the podcast, and guess what? It was shitty.
So Alex Stein will help us close out a terrible year and look forward to the roaring chaotic eye that is 2017.
And of course, though, the beginning of the year is always our best shows because we get to talk a lot about the Oscars a lot.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
a
We
lot
gotta
of
reset.
award shows. Award shows are good. We get the Golden Globes, we get the Grammys, we get the Oscars. It's easy. You don't have to struggle to think of
Things don't
topics.
get chaotic till around mid-February.
Yeah.
So actually, then we have our Oscars roundup. So
Yeah, Oscars roundup.
But-
March is where things start to get lean again.
Yeah, exactly. So Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the Will Sean Podcast, I'm Sean David.
I'm Will Link.
And we're finished.
We're finished.